If you are a chef in New York and you serve sushi, the Department of Health requires that you wear gloves if you handle raw seafood, and that is to prevent illness and the spread of any type of bacteria. Sure, ultimately, the Department of Health is looking out for everybody's best interest. They're trying to prevent everyone from getting sick, right? That's where this whole glove rule stems from. But just for the record, no legitimate sushi chef wears gloves. Sushi is a centuries-old art. It's based on precision and intuition. I think it's paramount to know who's preparing your food and how they're preparing it, as opposed to just making a blanket statement and saying everybody in New York needs to wear gloves. Believe it or not, some of New York's best restaurants, they don't have an A. Soto, which has a Michelin star, Neta, Kanoyama, and Chef Nakazawa of the famous Sushi Nakazawa, he got a B last May. And you know what? I don't care. I want to eat there, on the regular. David Bouhadana is the chef and owner of Sushi Dojo in New York's East Village. I'm going to meet with him today to talk about what's happening with Sushi Dojo and what potentially will be the future for chefs and whether or not they have to wear gloves going forward. Walk me through what's been going on in the last few months.
The last few months, just like every other single restaurant, you are due for an inspection every 6 months or twice a year. One violation that kept coming up and repeating was the no chef with no gloves. And they finally came in on the last strike and said, we're closing you. You passed inspection, we had your points, but we're closing you because you're not wearing gloves.
So it's only about wearing gloves to prevent your hand contact with food that is not going to be cooked to a certain temperature. Is that essentially?
There is no bare hand contact allowed with undercooked food ready to serve. Granted, that makes sense for 90% of all foods, but in this one category of sushi, which is uncooked, but we call it raw or whatever you want, vinegar or cured, that rule applies. And that's where we're having the friction.
What are some of the pros and cons of wearing gloves?
Basic 101 chef, not just Japanese, any chef who is julienne or slicing, we use our knuckles as, kind of the basis of what we're doing. And then especially with sushi, when slicing, sashimi or sushi, we almost literally feel the blade because the fish is so thin and we need to know that pinpoint accuracy. Let's say you cut the plastic, you cut your finger, you'll know. You cut a piece of plastic, you won't know. And that will end up in the salad or the sushi or something like that. When molding this together, nigiri means hand molded. It is a simple philosophy that dates back before rules and regulations of food. But just also, a glove in theory does not make everything clean, especially if you touch something dirty and don't wash your glove.
So why did you decide to take a stand against this issue and not wear gloves?
It's a very good question. I did not make the choice. It chose me. And the reason why I'm speaking and the famous chefs in New York City aren't speaking is because of the language barrier and because of not understanding what's going on. And also the system. They don't know how to do a petition. They don't know the local governor. They don't know these things. And neither do I, but I've been educating myself the last 2 weeks to really get this one statement, this one movement, and then have the chefs join me. Right now the petition is up on change.org and hopefully we can amend this. My master, Andy Matsuda of the Sushi Chef Institute, he repealed that entire state law just a year ago in California.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I think that what you're asking for is really fair. And as a diner and as somebody who loves sushi, I think it would be great to have some type of footnote on a menu or a sign on a wall, and then warn customers, and I can make that decision on my own whether I'm going to choose to eat in that restaurant or not.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kat.
The truth of the matter is Sushi Dojo is one of my all-time favorite places to eat sushi in New York, and unfortunately it's not open right now, but to check out what the omakase did look like, click here.